Hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm so happy you're here today.
Happy to be here too,
Yeah.
and my second time. So the first time I brought Dennis a bottle of Papa's Pilar,
Awesome.
and he struggled. The last time to open this thing, it took him like 15 minutes. We could have a show that was 15 minutes longer, but it was really tough for him to figure out how to open it. So what I did in this bottle, I put instructions, all step by step, tell him what he needs to do with the plastic wrap, the seal, the metal seal, because it was above him the last time they figured this out. So we're gonna make it nice and easy. So
I
that's
don't know
my
if that
gift.
writing is going to be big enough for him, but I mean, hopefully.
Well, I'm here. I can read it all.
All right, good, good. We got this then.
Rolling. Yeah, cool. So, I wanted to, John and I were kind of, you know what? First things first, okay? There's a bottle of rum in front of us. I think before we get to chat, we need to talk about this here. So, you left a little note for me?
I did. See, I remember the last time that you had me in.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought a bottle of Papa's Pilar in to celebrate. It actually is a thank you for having me on. And I noticed you were struggling with trying to take that cap off. I didn't want to say anything at first, but after about the first 8 minutes, I figured you needed some help here.
Yeah.
And I watched you struggle through it. So coming back as a second-time guest here, I still want to say thank you with another bottle of Papa's Pilar. But to lessen the embarrassment, what I did is I put these easy instructions on how
No, it's just so very thoughtful.
you could
of you.
open the bottle of Papa's Pilar rum. So maybe if you do that correctly, we might have an extra 10 minutes left in an interview that won't be spent on opening the bottle of rum.
All right, so I'm going to take a quick picture of this because I don't ever want to forget this moment. So here we go. We're going to take a picture of the instructions. I'm going to get the Pilar logo.
And if you need any of that to be explained, you know where to get me. So I'll be happy to walk you through it.
That's awesome.
Be sort of like one of those YouTube videos, how to open a bottle of Papa's Pilar rum with Dennis Friel.
That's awesome. Good stuff. So just so people can, let me see, you're not going to be able to read this, but it says instructions. Peel off plastic cap seal, number 1. Number 2, remove new seal strip. Number 3, remove metal seal strap. Number 4, press down on lid. 5, turn left until cap comes off.
Yes. And repeat as necessary.
Repeat as necessary. So I'm going to keep these, and this is going to stay in the room forever.
There you go.
Right there.
And I also, as a
If you could sign that before you leave,
I'd be happy to. As a two-punch deal, also, I got the Papa's Pilar hand sanitizer, believe it or not.
oh, wonderful.
Since the whole coronavirus deal,
Yeah.
they make a hand sanitizer. So this is like a two-step process.
Mm-hmm.
You take the hand sanitizer and you just coat your body with it, your
Right.
external reaches, and then the Papa's Pilar rum will take care of the inside. So
Gotcha.
you're battling the Rona two different ways here. You're keeping it on the run, I should say. Buy the rum.
George, it's so very nice to have you back on the show.
I'm scratching my head. What am I doing here at 10 o'clock in the morning?
Drinking rum. Peel
like
off
I don't have
plastic
something
cap.
more productive to do.
All right, so I missed a step already.
Here we
So,
go. He's
so
already
peel off.
He's crumbling under pressure. You're not a pressure kind of guy, are you?
No, I'm not. I like everything laid out for him.
Hey, in the case of emergency, you always do the old-fashioned break the glass.
Yeah, well, we might spill a little, so I don't want to. Hey, here we go. So plastic seal. All right, this is the first one.
That's what he had a real hard time with last night.
Right, it was the plastic
Yeah, it
seal.
was.
It fell all over the floor.
Confused
Right.
him.
We removed the seal strip. Done.
Very good.
Right, which I didn't even actually do that very well.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll still work, I think.
Yeah, all right. So, and remove the seal strap.
Correct.
Okay.
He's been practicing.
He is.
I have been practicing. Plenty. Trust me. The
Now,
coronavirus
here's the
had
big
me
moment.
practicing.
Here's the big moment right now.
All right, we did it.
Oh, okay.
The seal is off.
Beautiful.
All right, we got a
I
couple
think
of
I was
cups here.
only 2 minutes this time.
Only 2
Yeah.
minutes. Nice.
We have more to talk about now.
Yeah. We're going to talk about a topic today that John's going to really want to chime in on. So,
Awesome.
this is for you.
Oh, thank you, Dennis.
This is for me. John, do you want one?
I'm okay. I'm good right now. Thank you.
Oh, John.
Too early for me.
Yep. Okay.
But a good thing of my buddy Carl, he works down the street, so if I need a designated driver, I'm going to call him.
Exactly. Cheers
All
to
right,
you.
thank
Thanks
you
for
for having
coming
me
back on the
back.
show. Welcome back
Thank
to
you.
Connected by Water, presented by Joey Accardi, Chrysler, Jeep Ram. We are here today with our good friend, George Poveromo. the consummate professional. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to bring up one topic because I don't want to avoid this any longer. I've been trying to avoid it over the past couple of days, and I've just come to accept the fact, and I have to really do this for both of you guys. Congratulations on your Hurricanes beating my Seminoles. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm just going to say
Defeat is an
that.
understatement.
Defeat's in there. See, all right, lay it on, John.
Well, what's the ironic thing about all this is, I did graduate U of M, but I am, believe it or not, I'm just a fishing fanatic, followed by, racing, race cars. I really was never interested in football. I wouldn't walk across the street to see a football game. I'd find something else to do. But I will take a little bragging rights, and you're going to have to help me here. I remember when U of M probably had one of the best college teams around. They had an undefeated season one year. I want to say this was 86 or 87, and then they won a championship, was it 2 years in a row? Back in the late 80s. And they were like undefeated, and they had a crazy, super good team. But then a year later, most of their players ended up in jail, and that was the end of the team.
Yep.
You remember what I was talking about?
That did happen, yep.
So I did, somewhere in passing, I saw...
I brought on the right UM alumni today, apparently.
I saw where U of M beat Florida State like some crazy 55-3 or something like that. It still doesn't mean anything to me, but I guess that's
10.
good in a way.
This past game was the most amount of points Miami's ever put up on Florida State.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. So
There's been some pretty good teams in the past, but I'm really excited to have such a good offense, quarterback, and of course a new kicker now too. So those three have really helped us this year.
Lord knows how much those kickers matter.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna take his word for it.
Yep.
Yeah. So I did that for John. John's riding high after that win, as well he should. So, so tell me about the dead body.
The Dead Body. This was a classic. As you well know, I put it out on my social media, and people could read the story. And it's funny because I had thought that I had told so many people, but then somebody on my social Facebook page posted, all the seminars that we go to when we go to Jersey, you never once mentioned that. And I thought about it. So, well, it just takes too long to tell at a seminar. But people
We got plenty of time today.
Yes, we do. I'm down the street.
And plenty of rum.
As long as I'm home by dinner, I'm in good shape.
All right, that sounds good.
People ask me, what are the craziest things that you've seen offshore? And the body, the dead body, was by far it. And this dates back to, I want to say, was 1980, 81, somewhere in there. And I was at the University of Miami and fishing. And my dad had a 25-foot Mako. And I met up with a couple ball players from the west coast of Florida. A couple really good guys. And they love fishing. We started talking about that. And they were there on a scholarship. And I never really saw them in class that much, but that was back in the day where if you were good, they'll take care of your grades for you too. So anyway, we started talking and I started taking them out fishing. Then I got smart that I figured instead of going Monday, Wednesday, Friday on my courses, I could just lump them together on Tuesdays and Thursdays, put 2 long days in. That gives me more flexibility to fish, be it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or long weekend. So I asked the guys, I said, how are you? You flexible? And they said, you let us know when we're fishing. We'll be there. And it was the greatest relationship because they play hooky every single time I wanted to go fishing. And they were a fun couple guys. So anyway, long story, we get down to Key Largo, a trailer down there, and we were running out.
This is down in Largo. I thought this was.
No, this was out of Key Largo.
Oh, wow.
I used to trailer a ton. My dad had a weekend house down there for a while. And we spent so many years fishing out of Key Largo, so I would still trailer down there. And there's a little small ramp that we used to use, and we would go out. So we're heading out on a beautiful day, slick calm. VHF radio's on, and we hear the Coast Guard saying all vessels in the vicinity of molasses-free flight to Carey's Fort, be on the lookout for a body that's floating. So that's sort of like a weird deal when you hear that. And they kept repeating it to the point where it was so redundant, I just turned the VHF off. I got sick and tired of hearing it because who's going to find a body? That's like hitting a lotto.
Yeah.
We run out 30-some miles. We hit the Dolphin really solidly. We decided, hey, we got a lot of fish to claim. We still got to get the boat in the trailer, get back to Miami. So we start running in about 2 o'clock. about 10, 11, 12 miles off molasses-free flight, I see something in the distance like floating, a big object. I said, guys, there's something big floating here. And I said, there's got to be some dolphin under it. So I told the ball players, grab these 2 spinners, and then when I get you close, I want you to fire. One was a jig, I believe. The other was a hook with a ballyhoo, and fire it in there. We'll cap it off with a few more dolphin. So we're charging up. We're getting closer and closer, and it's big and white. I'm thinking, look at it, is that a cooler or something? And so anyways, we got closer. I pulled the throttles back, got it in neutral, and all 3 of us identified at the same time because we just completely didn't say a word. We were like in awe. Are we seeing what we're seeing here? It was a dead body floating face down. And so we're like, this is the guy the Coast Guard is looking for.
We hope.
We
it's not
would
a
hope
second
so.
one.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you never know whatever really happened in the story. So I get on the VHF, and it said Coast Guard, and I made the mistake, looking back, announcing the vessel name and the VH call letters like I was taught to do. And I said, I believe we have your body here. And they said, okay, where are you at? And back then it was Loran, so I gave them the Loran numbers. Said, I will sit here and wait until you send some of your crew out so the body won't go missing. Mark 6, we order you to put the body in the boat and proceed to a marina. That we're going to tell. And I said, what?
Dun, dun, dun. Everything changed at that
so
moment.
You're thinking, you don't know who this guy is, where he has been. Does he have any diseases? What happened?
Oh.
And so you don't want to touch him. So I get back on the radio, and I said, well, Coast Guard, what if I don't want to put this body in the boat? And because I was young, and the Coast Guard, being as trained as they are, they sense that on the fence kind of scared voice. So they figured we're going to really intimidate this kid. And they said, we are ordering you to put the body in the boat. If you don't, we will confiscate your boat, and you'll be arrested. So I'm
Is
thinking,
that true?
I never researched that, but at that age,
Yeah. That
like I
age,
said,
you're
the
none the
only
wiser,
thing that
for
would have
sure.
been worse for me to call my dad to tell him to come get me out of jail was be telling him, hey, you could also bid on your boat at the next federal auction. I said,
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
I'm not doing. And so they rattled me, and probably legally, I don't know, today whether they could do that or they can't. But you're a younger guy back then.
Yeah,
First,
25 years old. You don't know much about
no,
that.
and
yeah.
you're running into with the first run-in with a Coast Guard. Not really a run-in, but so I don't know what the authority is. But all I know is I'm not going to lose my dad's boat over this thing. So told the players, all right, we're going to have to put him in the boat, and they like freaked.
I would have dragged that thing in.
We would have come apart. We were that far off. They would have been ugly.
Yeah. Oh.
So, that thank goodness I was the captain of the boat. They got to listen to me.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to pull up alongside, and he's face down. Each one of you get him under his arm. But we couldn't quite get a grasp on him, so I told him to take a gaff and get the back of the shirt. I said, don't poke
Right.
him.
Yeah.
So they got him on the shirt, and they sort of pulled him against the boat. One ball player got his arm under one armpit, the other one did the other, and they lifted him up and they sat him on the boat. And I remember like it was yesterday. Here is this guy, like rigor mortis, his arms are still out, legs are straight down. He's
God,
looking
that
straight,
must have been so weird.
sitting on my gunnel.
Oh.
And they said, all right, let's go. I said, I can't run with him on there. I said, put him in the boat. And so they lifted him, they laid him in the cockpit. So he's in the back of the boat on his back, arms up, knees like bent. And
Oh my God.
so I called the Coast Guard. So we've got him. They said, does he have any ID? Ball players pulled out a wallet. And I see the real beer drinking guy going through there, and he had $350. He's saying, don't tell him about the cash. Don't tell him about the cash. Says, give me the wallet. So I read the name of the captain off. Coast Guard said, that is our person. Is there any other belongings on him? And I said, well, I want to go on the record that it is $350 cash.
Right.
And the ball players are getting all mad back there like this. And they didn't really talk to me for the rest of the trip back in, because they later told me $350 would buy them a lot of beer. And like I said in the story,
You're a good man, George Poveromo.
well, a couple reasons here. Number one, might have been a little on the selfish side. I don't really know if I believe in ghosts or not, but I want to press the issue. I don't want this
Right.
captain haunting me for the rest of my life. So that's
Yep.
one of them. And number two, it was $350. That guy's family, he has had a wife, from what I understood out there. That's his money. That would
Yeah.
have been just terrible.
Yeah,
so
that's
I went
bad
on
juju.
record. Oh, no
Yeah.
doubt about it. Anybody's
Yeah.
book. And
Taking money off a dead man. I don't know if I would have done that either.
no, I would not have. So I reported immediately to make that up. But that was part of the record. So they told me where to bring the body to this marina. And what got me upset is they were complaining about how short they were with manpower. We get to the marina, and I'm telling you, there's no less than a dozen, 15, 18, might have been 20 different law enforcement vehicles from the Highway Patrol to back then Fish and Wildlife to Monroe County. You had enough military or law people there, they could have gone down to Cuba and taken it over in 2 days. And Coast Guard comes on board, and they bring the body out. They put him on a stretcher, put him in an ambulance, take him off, and I have to answer 45 minutes worth of questions to the Coast Guard. And I said, could you please let me know, you've got my information, who was the guy, what had happened? And they said, he was a charter captain, and he found his boat off of Isla Mirada, going in circles with nobody on it. So they found his boat, and somebody had jumped on, shut it down. So they went looking for the guy, hence the All Points Bulletin, to find him. So he was a captain, and the $350 that he had was for a half-a-day charter. So the question comes up, where was the other people on the boat? He had $350. Was that from a previous charter? It was sort of like a weird set of circumstances there. What if he went out by himself? Did he try to take a leak off the boat and end up going overboard? I mean, so that I remember the boat name. It was the Rebel 7. And I used to remember the captain's name, but over the years I had forgot about it because now with the Google search deal, you know, I tried to get back in and see charter boats Rebel 7, nothing comes up. If I had the captain's name, or still remembered it, maybe it would have come up. But I've asked a lot of old timers down there in Isla Mirada, and no one says they've ever heard of the boat. So you never know what the deal was. It was
That's
the early
strange.
80s. I don't want to say or anything or taint his possible good reputation. That was a lot of the drug stuff was in full tilt boogie mode back then.
Full tilt boogie. I like it.
Could it have been part of that, or could it just been in? See, this is why I always wanted to find out what really happened on that day with a dead body.
We're going to look into that.
I've been trying.
I didn't realize. Yeah, well, I'll help you. I'll see what
sure.
I can do. I can't make
It was
any
I
promises,
remember
but
the
I'd
boat
love to
name,
find that out too.
the Rebel 7. It was out of Isla Mirada, but I've spoken to a lot of the old timers that say they never ever heard of the boat or whatever. So I don't know if anybody does know about it or not. But if you find anything, I'm just really curious. So the bottom line was that was without a doubt a top dollar dolphin we caught, but after all the craziness, you just had a good feeling because you brought closure to the person's family.
Yeah.
And his body wasn't sitting floating out there. They could take care of it in the way that they wish. And so overall, I felt really good about that. The ball players didn't talk to me much ever since, but that's life.
You just send him a check for $350. I tell you, look, you're right though. At the end of the day, weird moment for you, strange times and all that stuff like that. But the one takeaway is that was a very good and noble thing that you did.
You would hope that any decent human being would do that.
I don't know if everyone would have done that. You made the choices that you made in that moment.
It's a shame because today, as you're getting older, you sort of think that you don't really have the good-natured individuals as many as you may have had back in that day. I think things have sort of changed, and that $350 these days might have been long gone, and somebody might have just left. Who knows? I'm just guessing right now.
I mean, I've heard stories of people finding big bales, big square groupers out there, and then calling it in. So there's a bunch of square groupers out there, and we're not sticking around. So here's the numbers. You come get them.
And it is. And people ask me that, and all again, growing up in South Florida and all the Bahamas, and they asked me, did you ever see anything really floating out there drug-wise, this and that? And I honestly, it was such a rarity. I think maybe twice my whole life I might have seen a bale out there. And it wasn't as prominent, at least when I was running around seeing any of that. I said, what'd you do with it? I said, I just realized how fast my boat could run to get the hell away from it. Because I'm a guy, when I go to bed at night, I like a good night's sleep. I don't want like a knock on the front door busting down with the feds or somebody who came looking for that deal that found
you're
him.
better off keeping your hands
And
clean.
And the last I checked, Columbia does not make pinstripe suits, so I'd look terrible in prison.
I bet you they think you look pretty good down there, though.
So,
We're gonna swap dead body stories then.
oh, I'm ready. You got one too?
I got one too.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
So, this was back in the 90-ish era. We were up in Tallahassee and driving home for the weekend. And it was a Sunday night. And it was about 1:30 in the morning in January. I can't remember what year it was, but it was in the mid-90s somewhere. And if anyone's ever been out on Alligator Alley
Oh, yeah.
in January at 1:30 in the morning, you can imagine the mist of fog that's on the road. You know, the humidity that's in the ground with the cold air at night in January, you know what I mean? Just, it's fog out there. And we were coming in from the west side on our way here, right across Alligator Alley. And there's that first bridge you get to, and you're about 10 minutes into the alley for that says to go to Estero, make a left. There's that sign there. You probably know it well because you travel all over the state, right? I'm in the vehicle. It's not my vehicle. It was an Isuzu Rodeo, but it was my turn to drive, right? I got, one of my best friends, Ian, right to the right of me, and I got my buddy Chet and his girlfriend Heather in the back seat. They're all passed out, right? I'm the only one awake. And driving, and I see up in the distance on the right-hand side of the road off on the shoulder, an 18-wheeler put his flashers on, right? You pay attention to it, right? Especially as those flashers light up the fog, right? And I got a car to the left of me and a car right behind me. Oddly enough, at 1:30 in the morning.
You're boxed in, sort of?
Boxed in. 1:30 in the morning on the alley. And looking around, there's no one else on the road except for us three. This is really weird. And then I notice a car behind the 18-wheeler put its flashers on as well. Now I'm extra paying attention to this. So I slow down. Apparently everybody else sees this and slows down too. So now we're still all going the same speed and I'm still boxed in, right? Things are fast approaching, but I'm starting to go slower. Now this car that was behind me is right on me because it doesn't really see in front of me. And I'm trying to go as slow as I possibly can, but we're already up to 70, 75 miles an hour at that point. So to really downgrade, I see up ahead of us what I thought was like a rolled up piece of carpet on the road. Maybe something flew off the top of that car. You never know, right? And I can't obviously go to the shoulder because there's an 18-wheeler in a car right there. Can't get over to the left of me because that car is now going the same speed as me. And the car is right behind me. So I got to brace myself and run over whatever this thing is. All this happened in like a matter of seconds, but you think all these scenarios through because, in those moments where you just think of everything. And I got to brace myself and run over whatever it is. Since I'm in a Isuzu Rodeo, I think I'll be fine. Just before it goes under the hood, I saw what it was. Boom, boom.
So you ran over it.
Like, oh, everybody wakes up. What the hell was that? I'm like, oh, no. And they're like, Dennis, what was that? What the hell was that, right? What was that? I'm like, oh, no. I just kept saying, oh, no, right? Because I'm still accepting what just happened.
Now, are you still driving or did you pull off?
I pulled off.
Okay.
Right? I pulled off right when it happened, I was like, oh. And I pulled right to the side of the road instantly without even thinking about it. The car that was to the left of me pulled off too and parked right in front of me. The car that was behind me had to have run over him too, kept going.
Huh.
Weird, right? Long story short, on that part.
And you didn't know what it was at this point?
I knew what it was.
Oh, so
I saw just before it went under.
Oh, so you knew what it was when you hit it?
Yeah, so I knew what it was just before I hit it. That's why I kept going, oh no. And there was like, Dennis, what was that? What was that? Right? But I still needed confirmation in my head, right? That car that kept going, by the way, they caught him at the toll booth.
Good.
For leaving the scene of
Really?
the accident
Sure.
or whatever. Like, oh no. So I go, hold on. They still don't know what happened. I get out of the car and I go to talk to the car in front of me that pulled over too. My buddy Ian comes out as well, right? So they roll down the window. It was like a little Honda Civic with black tinted windows and everything. And a couple of Jamaican guys. And I go, please tell me that's not what I thought it was. I'll never forget this as long as I live. The Jamaican guy looks me dead in the eye. And he goes, yeah, man. was a dead body, just like that. And I was like, chills like came over my whole body. And I look at Ian to look at him. He's gone. He's running down. Maybe, I don't know what he's thinking, if he could save this guy or whatever. He's
he's going back to the body.
Yeah, he goes back to the body, right? And just right around then, the cops show up. So they had already been called. Right now, I had been like the 7th person to hit him. I was the only person to pull over. The other 2 cars that stopped saw him initially get hit. Yeah, and they pulled over, and yeah, they that's what the flashers, they were trying to tell people to get over. So no one would keep
I'm trying to get my head around. So was this body already wrapped up in something, or was that?
No, I thought with the fog and everything, I thought it was like a roll. I just in my mind, it's like a rolled up piece of carpet or something like that. But he had been so mangled already.
Oh,
yeah, and it was like what we ended up finding out. I hit him at like 1:30 in the morning. The cops didn't release me till like 6:30 in the morning because I had to take questions since we were where we were. I had to do Broward County since I was from Broward County. Broward County wanted to come over, Collier County. And also state FHP homicide had to get woken up in the middle of the morning. He lived in Fort Myers. Had to wait
and all
for
this
him
is
to
taking
get there.
place on the alley.
All this is on the alley. Yeah. And
so what happened? Where did he come from?
So during that whole time I was there, I finally got the whole story. Him and his buddies were out hooting it up and shooting guns in the middle of the morning, drinking up out at one of those ranches out in the Everglades. And one of his buddies got so drunk and passed out that they just threw him in the bed of the truck, and they were going to drive back towards Broward. And apparently he woke up discombobulated, not knowing where he was, and fell out of the back of the truck.
And the truck didn't notice that he was out of the
They
back?
noticed it when they stopped for gas at that Miccosukee gas station, right just before getting here. That's when they noticed he was gone.
So
they never knew he fell out.
So he's laying on the road, passed out, and some other vehicle actually hits him, or did he die coming off the truck? Anybody figure out how?
So they say that from the point where he originally fell out to the point where he ended up finally was a full mile.
Oh.
And still, after I hit him after the 7th time, he had an unlit cigarette in his hand. So apparently, maybe he tried to flag down traffic and got hit initially. I don't know. Apparently, the kid was hammered. He was a young guy. Yeah,
that's horrible.
Yeah, horrible.
I'm about to say that's a credible story, but when you compare the two, mine versus yours, I think I still win only because it was only. Oh, here it is. But I'm going to give you this much. It was a split decision. You know?
Definitely win.
It was a split decision only because I didn't run over my body, Dennis.
Right.
You did.
You could have propped him. I don't know.
So the judges' scorecards reflected that, and the Russian judge gave you 2 out of 10. Just so you know.
Thanks. I know, but that's my dead body story. So
that's horrible, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure it has the legs that yours does, but
no, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, but that was pretty bad.
Mine was at least floating. Yours was on the road getting hit by car.
Yeah.
That's pretty. Yours are more gruesome for sure.
Yeah. So that was my deep, dark, and mysterious, strange story.
That's okay. That's definitely worthy there.
Sorry, I actually wasn't planning on bringing that up, but since we were talking about strange things today,
well, hey, you and I are in the same club now,
right? Yeah, well, kind of. You're a little level up than me, but which segues me into our new segment that we're going to do on the show.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
3 strange questions.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to do this now every episode and let it be known throughout the land. We bequeath this as the 3 strange questions with George Poveromo here.
Can't wait for this.
Right. And this is the first time we're ever doing this. And are you ready?
I'm ready as I'm going to ever be.
Okay. I don't know how great these are because I just made these up on the fly before we walked in the room. Going forward, I might have watchers of the show or whatever, fans kind of just write in and ask these questions for upcoming guests, but this is all from me, so they might be lame.
Okay.
So let's see. What was the strangest place you've ever stayed? Because you travel all over the place. You're a man of many places.
And it's funny because I'm going to go with this only because it just popped up into my head. Mm-hmm. And I've, as much travel as I've done, we've been to Central South America on fishing assignments, the whole bit. And there's been a lot of strange places, but this one just popped in my head, so I'm going to have to go with it. We did a show, and again, I don't want to really embarrass anybody, but it was in a certain area of Central Florida, on the coast, East Coast, more of a very remote area. And the tourism, that's funny too, because the tourism for this little area had called me, and they wanted me to do a television shoot out there. And they said, we will take care of your accommodations, the whole bit. We'd like to get exposure. Plus, the guide was a longtime friend of mine. So It's going back a number of years. So tourism got behind this, and they said, we're going to put you up in the nicest hotel, et cetera. So, and we know it's an area, when they say nice hotel, that's definitely relative. You're not going to go in there and see, a 5-star Marriott. In this place here, you'd be like, Holiday Inn would be considered a 5-star Marriott. So anyway.
Right. So you were in Titusville?
How'd you know?
I
Yes.
was going to say Titusville.
Here I am. Well, at least you guys said that. So when the tourism attorneys
I figured, I'm going to say this for him because apparently he doesn't want to say it.
So when the tourism attorneys contact for bashing, they'll go after you two and not me because I didn't mention it. Yes, exactly.
It just all sounded too familiar.
Oh my God, yes. You might have stayed in the same place.
Perhaps.
So they have us, and you could help me with this since you know it. It was either a Days Inn or it was, I remember coming right off the interstate. It was maybe a mile and a half onto the right. I want to say it was like a Days Inn or something very similar, that they had the free breakfast going on from 6 to whatever. So, and I'm checking in. And they said, okay, you got your crew. Here's 3 rooms for your crew, and we put you in the VIP suite. So, oh, okay. So what it was, and this was labeled as such, and it was on the website back then when I looked at it, I was in the honeymoon suite, and that's what it was called, honeymoon suite, and it had it on the outside of the door. So I said, oh, all right, well, honestly, I walked into this place. I opened up the door, and shag carpet, this thick, not only on the floor, but up the walls. It looked like a Casey and the Sunshine Band concert. You're going back in that era. Then, okay, and I'm not really exaggerating this at all. There's this big, giant bed, and there's a heart-shaped jacuzzi that I would not have gone in unless I put tons of this Pop-Ups Pilar hand sanitizer in there first. And a giant mirror above the bed with more shag carpeting.
No, came with a mirror.
I text my camera guy, I said, you got to come over here and see this thing. And they came in there, and they were like hysterical. And I said, you guys want to trade rooms? And no way. All right. So we're here shooting. You don't really stay that long in your room. You're out dark and early. You come in dark, and you just use the place to shower, catch up on sleep, and you do it again. So first night in there, I'm sleeping, and something runs across me. I look, it's a roach. But I hit the thing. And you didn't really hear the sound where he hit because it's the shag carpet. It's like just absorbing them. And then I feel another one come across me. And I hit that thing, and this thing must have hit something hard because I heard him actually hit wherever I got him. And then finally I turned on the lights, and these roaches running, and I said, this is pretty bad. So anyway, you just made do with the place. And
Made do.
It was.
I would say so.
But so what was funny about it is, on the back of the door, where they show you what the maximum a hotel room could charge you, per season. They have the rates.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also had gone on the website later because this became a joke among the crew. It was the honeymoon suite, okay? The honeymoon suite in season at that particular time when we were doing the show was $98 a night. So I guess if you were a high school kid at the prom or something, you got $100 from your dad, you're going to do okay that night. But
wow.
But it was like, this was like just a complete throwback. It was, so I would have to say that was probably one of the weirdest. And there was another place down in Ecuador we stayed at too. We fished Salinas, Ecuador a couple times for striped marlin back in the day before the TV show with Saltwater Sportsman. Then we kept hearing about this place, Manta, Ecuador. They get these big marlin, Ecuador. So somehow, because I'm just an easy to talk, be into things kind of guy, I said, we'll go down there and do a show. Mm-hmm. So we met in Salinas, Ecuador, jumped on this old rickety wooden inboard 28-footer, driving through the night to get to Manta. Okay?
Through the night?
Through the night. And,
Down a river?
No, ocean.
In the ocean?
Yeah, and I would never, ever do that again. Now that I have more sense. But back then you're young and, hey, this is an adventure.
Right.
And then now it's not an adventure. Now it's a death sentence. But anyway, you go. So we go to Manta.
Yeah, now if you do that, you'd be under watch of a semi-automatic machine gun.
Oh, yeah. And there's no Coast Guard.
Yeah.
I mean, when something goes on and you're going to go. So they had us into what was their fanciest hotel in Manta, which was terrible. So it was me. I had Mark Bradfield, my fishing buddy, and my stock car buddy, Bobby Brack, was the three of us. on that trip. So we're being escorted, and they say, don't go out at night. Your escort will pick you up, and it's an armed escort. So we get to the hotel to get checked in. They got the armed guys with the guns on there. So we get in, and then we have our room. So all three of us in one room. They got like a rollaway and 2 other beds. And then we hear some gunshots come down the street at night. So we both realized this is not a safe place. So what we did, we had some of our tackle there. We took our fillet knives and we stuck them under our beds, each one of our beds, just in case. And we took the big drawer, pushed it against the front door. So if somebody's going to try to get in, at least we have a few minutes notice here. And,
Oh my God!
And you wake up in the morning.
Even with armed guards.
Yeah, and you wake up in the morning, and we talked to our host, and we heard those gunshots. Oh, they have shootouts up and down the street at night, and
It's
I
kind
remember.
of a thing around here.
Oh yeah, it is. It's like a normal
It's
deal.
kind of a thing around here.
So we're getting escorted to our boat, and all of a sudden, I remember this kid riding this bicycle with a rope behind it, dragging a blue marlin with chunks out of it. So they whatever it is they'll sell, they could on the street. So it was a blue marlin. So we come back in this afternoon, and then we get back in our room. That next morning, we get escorted to the boat again, and here's the same kid pulling the rope. The remains of the blue marlin he didn't sell out of the beach, tying it to the back of the bicycle and riding to sell what's left of that. And so that was definitely
Why did I just have a painting like popped into my head? Like
There you go.
Illustration. Yeah, I got to draw that.
It was really wild, and but that was definitely an odd place too. We got out of there. We caught a decent sized marlin out of it, and we got a story in Saltwater Sportsman. But
Little kid with the bike tried to buy the rest of it before you left.
no, we just got the hell out of there.
Wow. I gotta say one thing though: if you're honeymooning in Titusville, Florida, as the woman, you really probably should rethink your decisions in life and
That
who you
was
say yes to.
like I said, it popped right in my mind, and like I said, seriously, all you needed was Casey and the Sunshine Band playing. That would spun you back to the 70s. I mean, when was the last time you guys seen Shag Carpet?
Yeah,
Dennis,
okay.
we should put shag carpet on
We
the
should.
back wall here.
We're gonna
and
have to
take
do
off the foam.
Great. Some cockroaches running around.
So
Good.
that was one of the weird.
Wow, that is weird.
ones.
Titusville. I can't believe I guessed that one.
I couldn't believe it either.
Actually,
That
Ken
popped
Blake
into my
would,
head
yeah.
too. I said, I wonder if he's talking about Titusville.
Oh, and you nailed it.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
But when I
that's-
heard Dennis say that, I said, Dennis must have stayed there.
Yeah, I didn't stay. We went straight on the boat, fished, and I drove
Yeah.
back home at 12 o'clock at midnight.
Yeah. It's like one of those places. If the doctor ever tells you have 6 months to live, move there because every day will feel like an eternity.
Yes, you are not kidding.
Yeah. All right. So listen, that's strange question number 1.
That wasn't too bad. I think I might be maybe handling the other two. We'll see.
That's good. All right. So what's the strangest bait you've ever caught a fish with? Again, these are questions I just made up on the fly before
Strangest
walking in the
bait
room.
that I've ever caught a fish with.
I know you're never wanting for things like that, especially now you got a lot of
There's it's been
sponsors and promos and stuff like that.
there's a typical kid growing up.
Right.
When I used to freshwater fish a lot, I used to try to get these freshwater catfish in my local canal in Miami, and I used to get the Oscar Mayer ham and bologna and put it on. But that's not really strange because that's what people probably still do. I would say maybe along those lines. How about a horse pilchard off a fishing kite that a flying fish eats? I'm watching his bobber. I'm seeing some kind of light commotion under this horse pilchard. We were sail fishing out of Miami. Got the kite up, and this thing somehow, and I still didn't know what it was. The bait goes down. I wind tight, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. The hook turned back into bait, but it can't be because we even bridled the horse pilchard. So how did that hook turn back? And I bring it alongside of the boat, and we boated it. And there's somewhere in my Facebook, when you go down images, it's there, is about a 3-pound flying fish.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding you. A 3-pound flying fish had come to eat that pilchard, and we hooked him.
Really?
And we got in the boat, and then said, "Look at this!" And so what we did, we took him off the hook, and we put him back out on the kite.
Bridled
Thinking,
him.
this is going to be great. We did. We put him on the kite, and not a thing touched him.
That's great.
I mean, I don't know whether they eat pilchards or maybe it was just a flash, and whatever it is, we got this giant flying fish. He was so big, you could have put a 300 horsepower Alport on the back of him.
I feel like mounting a flying fish and putting it in the room now.
But it was the biggest flying fish I've ever seen, if that counts for anything.
No, that definitely counts. Okay, and the cap off our 3 strange questions. Who is the strangest person / situation you've ever fished with?
Oh man, there's so many of those.
I'm sure that's why I saved that one for last, because I figured you might want to.
Okay, all right. There's tons of them. I'm going to put this one, whether it's number 1 or 2 or 3, I'll put it in the top 5.
Okay.
And I won't mention a name because I don't want to see you get any illegal hassles.
That's all right. That's all right.
Or me.
You don't have to mention any names. Just a good.
So going way back, let's say way back to Key West, a very good friend of mine, Captain Mark Schmidt. We go back to the early 80s, 83, 84, 85. So, I'm with Saltwater Sportsman. I came aboard with Saltwater Sportsman in 1983, met Mark Schmidt. So he and I would go down. We do some things in the Keys, Key West together. Plus, I fished there a good amount when the Mako Owners tournaments used to be at a Boog Pals Marine. So I have a lot of experience in Key West. Plus, the Marquesas. I think we had this talk before. That was my dad's favorite fishing place. So ever since I was a kid, we fished those Marquesas. So a good amount of experience in Key West. Well, there's this one guide, center console guide, that had called me up and said, hey, I want to invite you to come down and do a story, out of Key West. We do this and then that. And I said, okay, well, I'll put that in a hopper. I normally, Saltwater Sportsman would only take like maybe 1 story per year in Key West because you don't want to really beat up the same destination 2 or 3 times a year. Yeah. So next year comes along, and I get hooked up with Mark Schmidt again. We have some other ideas, so we go down, we do it. And so he calls me up, hey, you're supposed to call me? I said, well, we would look at things. And I said, not this go round, but maybe, down the road. And he said, we don't understand. I'm this guy and this and that. And then he started to get a little bit pushy, crazy pushy.
Right.
There's pushy and there's crazy pushy.
He started saying, "No, you don't understand who I am," kind of thing.
Well, he was yeah, like that. And
you?
Yeah. And so I hang up with him. I call up with Mark, and we're having a laugh, and because he knows the guy. That guy's the biggest clown, this and that. And he had a run-in with Ralph Delph one day, and so anyway.
Right.
So of course, Saltwater says, "Hey, how about a story in the Marquesas?" No problem. So I go down with my buddies. We launch. We go fish the Marquesas. Well, he hit the ceiling after that. Now, this has been maybe 2-3 years, and he's been contacting me. And you're trying to be diplomatic and nice, and, because you never know, one day it might take advantage of it. So he calls me up, and he says, listen, you pick a date on your calendar right now. Right now. And I said, what are you talking about? You pick a date on your calendar right now, because that's the day we're going to go fishing. He says, you've been avoiding me. You pick that date right now. And I said, "Are you?"
Sounds like an owner of a Chinese restaurant.
And I said, "Are you crazy?"
Yeah.
And so you're telling me I'm going to pick a date to go fishing with you? Is that any way to try to talk to somebody?
Right.
He says, "Let me tell you what. I've got a gun, and you don't pick that date here. I got a gun. Next time I see you." So I like chuckled. I said, "Okay. Next time I see you, you better hang on to that gun because I'm going to come down there shortly. It's not going to be with you." So I hung up and called Mark Schmidt. And he said, the guy is just totally off the wall. So, he lasted for another, 5-6 years. After that one, he just really hated my guts. And so we never had any other run in there. So I'd have to be the Key West guide that threatened me with a gun to come down and do a story with him.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
And then, it was, and funny, the small world that we live in, Kevin Tierney, my TV show producer, eons ago, used to shoot with Mark Sosin for a couple of years. Well, Mark Sosin was with, I think it was with Ralph Delph doing a show, and they had gone to a wreck, and they anchored. This captain comes up, throws an anchor, and Kevin was on board, and he told me this. He says, and Ralph says, what are you doing here? I'm not going to mention any names. He goes, I'm fishing here too. Well, I was here first. We're going to be fishing, here. This is mine. I'm fishing this wreck. There's a lot of other ones. Nope, I'm fishing here too. So Kevin said the guy put the anchor down. And then he said, I could see Ralph Delph really getting fuming mad. And he said, Ralph Delph looks over, says the guy's name. Guy looks over. And he told the guy, if you don't pull that anchor now and leave, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm at anchor. I'm going to grab this big knife, put it between my teeth. I'm going to swim over to your boat. I'm going to cut your anchor line. And then we'll take it from there. And he said the captain looked at him Started pulling the anchor line and left. But it was the same captain.
Oh, same guy.
But he's no longer there. I don't know whatever happened to him, but he definitely had a great personality.
I don't know, but I think that guy might have asked me to do a couple of shirt jobs for him.
He may have. So we'll compare names when the show's
we'll
over
compare
with.
names. I've had some strange people. I've had some strange people like with some of these jobs, some of the things that they request, and then some of the things that they were like they demand of us. So I'm like,
Oh, I
you
know.
can go down the street and do it.
There's
the
some
other guy. I don't know.
definitely some screwballs out there. That's for certain.
Yeah. Wow. So those are our
Those are
three
good
strange.
answers.
Yeah, those are.
All
I
right.
mean,
I
listen,
was really sweating these.
no. Listen, I'll be honest with you. I can't think of a better person to have started off this segment with set the benchmark
Well,
for everybody to answer these
he
questions.
threw me softballs in that one. But
Then
that's
you're
all
going to have to. Listen, this was kind of on the fly, for us making this decision. This is kind of how things go around here. By Connected by Water, we kind of make decisions on the fly. So we came up with a brand new segment. You set the benchmark for everybody. So hopefully, when we ask these questions going forward, we won't get one-word answers.
And what we
right?
do is you can actually rename that, call that the Titusville segments.
The Titusville Chronicles. Oh my God, that was great. Speaking of Chronicles, you filmed you're filming season
2021.
right?
Yeah.
Right now, and you got it in regardless
We're
of the
still
Rona?
working on it. We are in the midst of one of the craziest years I could ever remember. It's I tell people it's one of those deals. You go to bed at night and everything is right with the world. You wake up and you're in the middle of a Twilight Zone episode.
Yes.
And you pinch yourself, but it's real.
Yep.
And it's an unprecedented thing. And hopefully a couple years from now we'll all look back and get a good laugh out of this thing. But it's definitely odd. And the TV shows, how they work. We are shooting for 2021, which we air on Discovery Channel January through June.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do every year, we start shooting in April, and we get our final shows done usually by November. And then we edit them, and they air January through June. So this year was really bizarre in that we got a late start because the virus thing hit like mid-March or latter part of March. And then, as you well know, everything just went crazy, particularly in Broward. We were like a Rona factory here, just pumping that stuff out faster than GM does trucks.
Yeah.
And
we got a spike here. That's for sure.
And they had the stay-at-home orders.
Mhm.
Remember that. So normally, we couldn't shoot in April. So what had happened, we're sitting here, we don't know if the show is going to get picked up back on Discovery because these are some uncharted territory or waters that we're in. And number one, if the show does get picked up, I mean, the sponsors, everything's shut down. They're not selling boats. They're not selling motors. They're not selling tackle. How are the sponsors going to be affected? Will they still be with us for the TV show? So what had happened, we had a full schedule of shows. And finally, Discovery called up, says, our shows are rating so well, you're back on for sure for 2021. So that was one hurdle. So then I had to contact my sponsors and make sure they're still with us to get out on the road. And knock on wood, fortunately, all of them committed. They're back on board. So by the time that we got the green light to actually get out there and start working, it was June versus April. So we're behind the eight ball. So that first 5, 6, 7 week period, it was almost like we lived in my boat to get these shows in. And we are here now coming up into October. We have show 8 behind us. We're going to work on show 9 in a couple of weeks. So we should have our 13th episode done by, I'd say, end of November, beginning of December. So we got back to where we needed to be versus this time frame. We're caught up.
Okay, good.
So we're working on that, and then we air January through March, or June, I should say. But just a weird deal, and we were fortunate enough to hang on to our sponsors. But where it did affect us is we're a national show, so we had to change things around for this season for 2021. We had shows set for Long Island, throwing poppers at Bluefin Tuna. We had Jersey on the list this year. I believe we had a North Carolina show. We had Venice, Louisiana. We had a couple Bahama shows. All those had to go by the wayside because Florida, when you left Florida, you had a 2-week quarantine. We were so bad in our state.
Yep.
So we looked at this and said, hey, it's going to be a weird year. We can't travel the show. The Bahamas were totally screwed up with everything you had to do to get there. And then the resorts we're going to go to, said that nobody would have any fuel, the restaurants wouldn't be open, so why even go? So we did all locals. So if you drew a line from Fort Myers all the way across to our site here and down in the Keys, that's where we're going to be doing
That's the
this whole
entire
season.
season.
Because
Yeah.
we really
That's
can't
a
go
smart way
anywhere
to
else.
approach it, though. That was a smart way to approach
Sure.
it, I think, because you think about logistically alone, right? Just because everyone's kind of just rolling up their sleeves and doing the best they can with things right now.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you guys made mountains out of molehills there with that too. So you
And-
guys always do a great job.
And there's always a silver lining behind
Yeah.
every dark cloud. And with us, it's funny now because when we meet up for a shoot, our production team, you're looking at each other. Where have you been the last 2 weeks? You're like you're keeping your distance now,
Mm-hmm.
and you got the Pop Explorer hand sanitizer. You're bathing. I like to call it a pre-coat before you actually see your crew.
Pre-coat.
So what happens? Like every shoot, we spend 3 days for every shoot on the water.
Mm-hmm.
So we come back in normally. You wash your boat, and then you get upstairs. You take your shower, and you head out to dinner. So we don't go to dinner unless it's an outdoor place because we don't want to sit and push the issue. So in the Keys, at one location or a couple outdoor places, it was all fine. But most of the time, there isn't. So the silver lining here, we come back in, the day's fishing, there's fish to clean, there's a boat to wash. We give one of our production team guy like $60, $70. It's go out, bring back 4 or 5 pizzas. And he'll go get the pizzas. So by the time that we're finishing up with the boat or cleaning the fish, here he comes with the pizzas. So we sit on the boat, the whole entire production team, all dirty, eating pizza, having Papa's Pilar rum, and that's it. So then you go back up, you shower, you get a good night's sleep, and you do it all over again. So the dinner budget for TV shows is really doing well.
Yeah.
Because you got $50 to $70 worth in pizza, and the Papa's Pilar is free. So we're ahead of the game with this one. So that's a positive.
That's good. And you got the seminar in just in time. We had that with the Jimmy Johnson.
That's right.
Right,
That
that's
was
a big
tight,
event
too.
for us, right? That's a big event for us. So we
Yes.
go all in for that one. I've been the featured artist to that one since it started.
Yep.
And but it really is a big event for us. We got a huge setup for it. We do the guitar and the whole thing, and the guitar auctioned off for like $25,000 this year, and it's great. And we were glad we got that one in because it's a big event for us. But literally the week after that, 'cause
That's
it's
when
the
the
first week of
world ended.
March. Yeah, that's when the world
I
ended.
noticed that
sent
you just
everybody
got that
home
in.
here, and I said, "Listen, guys, let's go home."
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we'll play by ear. And we did okay. It was like the first couple of weeks, but it was kind of weird because no one knew where it was. But as you know, boat sales went up
Now,
through the roof, right?
We got to talk about this.
Yeah, when boat sales go up, our business gets better because that's what we do. We service all those,
Our industry just rises with that tide.
right.
And we need to address that because there's some funny,
Yeah, go ahead.
interesting
Yeah.
stories with that. So you would think in our industry, which as you well know, it's an entertainment kind of deal.
Mhm.
That's
Completely.
the first thing that people cut out of their budget when things get tough. The last thing that comes back on the budget when things start to get good again. So we're just an entertainment basically thing. So we've been riding high with a marine economy, as you well know, where a lot of these boats are 3, 4, 5 months, sometimes a year out with an order. That's how
Yep.
good they were selling. Then things started to chill out, and all of a sudden now things started slowing down. Then the virus hits, so everything gets shut down. So you're thinking, okay, well, this is going to be the death knell to our
This
industry.
is it. Yeah, this is it. Everything changes, right?
Ironically, our industry goes skyrocketing to the top,
Mhm.
and we're all scratching our heads. What's going on? Well, the social distancing. People are saying you get on your boat, you go off your fish. What a better way to do that? So much more emphasis had gone on to boats
Mhm.
and fishing. And I heard that bicycles were the other one. People ride
Bicycles were.
hard to get a bike these
Yep.
days.
It was. I got a new bike because oddly enough, riding my bike around the neighborhood with the kids, my pedal breaks. That's why I needed a new bike. I'm like, oh man, now I got to get a new bike, and I heard they're hard to get. So I was kind of, I ended up getting one on offer up. Yeah, I tried calling around the stores; they were all out.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm likewise. So I got in a bike riding deal with a family.
Mm-hmm.
And so we trying to order a bike. It took me end up 3 months before I could get a bike that was ordered. So, and then I heard the other big thing that
Wow.
really blossomed in this whole crazy thing was gardening, because then people like to
can see
plant
that.
and all that, and you don't get near people. So all this being said, The boat sales now, they're getting backlogged again. Mercury is going 24/7 in their factory to build outboards to keep up with the demands.
I bet.
The tackle, because of the shutdown in China, the tackle has been off the shelves, and it's hard for the sponsors or television sponsors or tackle manufacturers to get the product to sell. So they're getting it in, and it's going out like wildfire.
Yep.
So we are now, and it just Penn reels.
I have heard that the supply chains are getting a little bit better
They
at
are
this
a lot
point
better
because
now.
My buddy Mike Lipsgate, Real Deal Bait and Tackle, has told me the other day, he's like, no, things are starting to get back, but for a while there, it was tough getting product in.
Exactly.
Yep.
And he was right. And Penn sent me an email 3-4 weeks ago, said that this season has been unprecedented for Penn in terms of reel sales. They never sold more reels than during this pandemic. So here's the humorous part of it. And we're living this industry, and we're seeing it out there. And the boat sales are not only the smaller boats that are going out, the big push and the big hot market are these 30 to 40 foot center consoles with triples and quads.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they are going out of style. So people are thinking, where's all this freaking money coming from? People are out of work. And me too, again, being a South Florida native and understanding our climate down here, is I'm looking at this too, and I'm scratching my head, said there must be a hell of a lot more drug smugglers than I ever thought possible out here to be in line with these boats. And I figured out what it was.
The great Trump economy?
I'll tell you what it was. Here it is. Ready for this? And somebody told me this, and it rang true. And help me with this here. When the virus hit and we were shut down, if you were a business owner, it was a PPE loan.
With the PPP.
PPP, yeah.
So what my accountant told me was that loan, the first, they based on whatever your earnings,
payroll.
And right.
Mm-hmm.
And the first loan was a forgivable loan.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just to make sure that nobody was let go. So what had happened, they were sending us first loan out, which is forgivable, means you don't have to pay that back. If you had to go beyond that, then you would get the rate and the whole bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I know people that have big construction businesses that have tons of people working for them that got a check for $200,000, and he said, my business was so good before, I'd never let anybody go. So they took that money, he banked it. So you're hearing these stories. So all that crazy money, that's where a lot of this stuff is being fueled with the boats.
Yeah. No, you hear about the one guy that bought that Lamborghini that got busted.
I heard something about Brian.
It's like, oh, yeah. He ends up buying how much do those things go for? 400 grand, something like that.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a little abuse and all that.
You mean a brand new center console with trips?
Well, I know.
That goes for more than that.
It's a seagoing Lamborghini.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So this is how that whole weirdness came into being. But we are riding on a freaking high that nobody in the world would ever bet on, because we are, again, the entertainment, disposable income industry, and we should have been sunk in the virus, but we're not.
We're not.
And I'm not saying this, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying this in a boastful fashion, because I understand there's a lot of people who are out at work out there. There's a lot of industries that are suffering. So I'm not saying this in a boastful fashion. I'm saying it in like a scratch your head weird kind of fashion. So I want to make sure that's out there.
I get it. And I jest about the Trump comment, and everything like that. And I know we try not to get too deep into politics.
Well, I'll give you one more here. And you probably noticed it, because I noticed I'm getting to know him well enough. I know when he tries to poke you and try to dig some stuff at you.
All right.
If you notice, one thing I never, ever get involved in, and never, ever will, is politics.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I will not discuss it. I will not comment on whatever happens.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason for it, a couple reasons. Number one, in my position with a television series, and you have your major league sponsors, and I see a lot of people up there saying, blah, blah, this and that, getting so political. Number one, for me, why would I want to alienate half my fan base?
It's very true.
Why would you want to do that? For what reason? Then beyond that, your sponsors bank on you to move their product, to promote their product. So why would you alienate or put your sponsors in a position where all of a sudden half of them now, I'm not going to buy Penn reels. George is being a complete a-hole with what he's saying. It's not good. We are in business, as you are too, to take money from every party.
That's correct.
You know, and when it's all said and done with all this craziness, we're all Americans. We're in business to make money from everybody out there. So, in my opinion, only a fool would stick the rear end out and start this stuff because it's not a winning proposition.
It's not a winning proposition. I admit sometimes I'm a fool. About other things in my life as well. So it's not just stuff like that.
But you look, and they come back to me, what I do. And people ask me that. And I said, I am in the fishing education business.
You're not in the political business.
And I sell happiness.
Right.
When you go fishing, and you know this better than anybody, to a marina or you go fishing, no matter who's docked next to you, whether it's a guy who's making 25 grand a year in a 17-footer that's 19 years old, or a guy that has a 72-foot hatteras next to you, when you're on that dock, you're all one. You're all together. Everybody's on an equal playing field for the love of fishing, and you're united by fishing. And fishing is a way...
Connected by water.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Your format here.
Yep.
It's an escape to get away from the craziness. People go offshore to fish. They get away from all the world's craziness. They enjoy themselves. They enjoy their family. They enjoy their friends. There's plenty of craziness once you get back to the dock.
Yeah.
So this is what I sell. And I promote the sport of fishing, the educational part about it, how to become a better angler, and you stay out of the mud throwing. It's a silly deal because you're representing not only yourself but so many sponsors. And again, going back, we're in business to take money from all parties.
Nope, I agree with you. I admire that greatly.
So we'll keep you guessing where I'm at.
No, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. And I was actually going to let you off easy and say, whatever, we don't have to talk about it and all that stuff. But I'm glad you addressed it that way because, as I always say, you're the consummate professional, and that is really the truth. And none better than you. I mean, you're a complete class act all the way, and that's always the truth with you. I mean. Well, in any circumstance.
Well, next time, let's have a less volatile topic. Like, let's discuss religion.
Let's do that. No. Now, at times the Trump thing comes up on the show because you understand that we are in a primarily, in most cases, a conservative environment with the fishing world. A lot of times, I know you don't want to discuss it. That's fine. But I sometimes it does come up, and I just speak my mind about it. But I also want to say that from my standpoint, I believe that the beauty of America is both sides of the fence.
Absolutely.
I think that is what makes us beautiful and amazing and great. I feel that I haven't made any bones about it that I'm a conservative, but I'm not a hardliner. Like, really, by no means. In fact, I'm very, I think, centrist on a lot of issues. And I'm not trying to egg you on into this, but I just do need to say this. I think that the beauty of America is that center line that we all kind of tiptoe around, and that's balance to me.
You are 100% dead on, because I was going to say this next here too, is that where we are at, and the one thing that does disturb me is that how we as Americans are now like fighting each other. We've never been so divided.
Really. It's a shame.
We're Americans, and what I think a lot of people may not realize is our enemies out there, be it Russia, China, whoever, are loving us.
Their mouths are watering.
They get us fighting amongst each other, and all of a sudden it makes you weaker.
That's the only way to take America down.
Bingo. You said it right there. So what we need to do is we have to become smarter than that, and we've got to come in that middle road, because this is where everything blends. From the right to the left, we run middle, we get along, and some things we may not agree with. Well, that's the way it's going to be, whether it's on one side or the other. But we need to come together as a middle road and show the unity of Americans, because when we're united, there's nobody in this world that's stronger. But right now, our enemies are loving the way we're at, and it's not a good thing. So we need something that's going to get us here as one.
Amen.
Yep.
No, I agree 100%,
Amen.
100%
Amen.
on that too.
That was beautiful. Yeah, no, and that's the truth. Because I really think that the sooner both sides realize that we need each other,
We do.
the better.
We can't survive without each other.
No, I mean, you can't. Just because one virtue signaling topic comes up, it doesn't make that person a bad person.
And I'll give you one more. This is the closest thing I'm going to get to being political here.
Go ahead.
And this is, okay, naturally I'm registered as a certain party. And I've been so disgusted with everything as of late, and I'm not telling you which party it is or what, But I
Both
said,
are
you know,
misbehaving.
yeah,
Both
and I
are
said,
misbehaving.
I'm not going to be beholden or associated with the clowns to the left, the clowns to the right. So I'm seriously thinking of
Stuck in the middle with you.
re-registering my card and becoming an independent, where I'm in the middle and I'm not going to be beholden.
That's what I am.
Yeah.
Because I never done that before, but I'm going to do it now because this is just stupid to be associated with either one group or the other
No, I
because of the
agree.
way we're at.
The only real reason that I registered as a Republican was to vote in the primaries, which I'm not even so sure that that's enough of a reason to not be an independent. Because truly, I think I'm an independent at the end of the day. There are a few issues on the left side that I just absolutely cannot get on board with. I'm not going to say what those issues are. But there are just a couple of things that I absolutely just that is a no-go for me. I'm sorry.
And I'll agree with you on that. And there's also a lot of them on either side.
Correct, but there's exactly. There
right.
are some things on the right side that's actually absolutely a no-go for me. But there's a couple of topics on the left side that is 1,000,000% a no-go for me.
Yep.
And I'm not going to say what they are. You might want to read between the lines. Go ahead, read all you want, but you may not know what they are. But there are things on the right. But truly, I feel in my heart of hearts, I'm an independent. You know,
that's the way I feel.
For whatever it's worth. So I'm with you. So you know, I may do that as well. But this year, I think there's with the way the media has controlled things, and I really think
here's a whole other thing.
And I know blanket media term blanket. You know what I mean? But
journalism is dead.
Dead.
So what you have now, and this is always how I've lived my life. No matter what side you're on, whatever network that you're watching, it's like in our industry. You have an advertising agency that might handle Bertram or Hatteras or Mako, and they go to Saltwater Sports, and we're going to do 10 pages with you, but we want some fishabilities. So that advertising agency is looking out for their clients. So they're going to do everything they can for positive publicity and get the PR out. This is what these news channels have become. They're PR agency, they're advertising agency, and that's it. So nobody gets the square shoot anymore. It's all based on the marketing agency. And so what I've always done is you go on what's inside of you and you dissect what's a little bit here, there, and you come up with your own mind. You don't get influenced by whoever's doing what. You know, I've been around long enough where I sort of know, got my own internal compass, and you listen to things. And, you know, this is unfortunately what people have got to do now is come up with their own decisions because there's no good journalism anymore. It's dead. It's all marketing, no matter whose side of the fence you're on. That's what it is. It's all
why
PR.
the youth is so vulnerable.
They got to get smarter.
The youth is so vulnerable in that respect.
Yep.
Do you still read the paper?
What's that?
the page, right?
I'll be here. You go. And I used to be a diehard reader of the Sun Sentinel. And then when they let Steve Waters go, who did a phenomenal job at their outdoors, once they did away with their outdoor coverage, I canceled my subscription. And really, the only reason I kept that subscription for those years was to support Steve Waters. So when it would come in, I'd look at his column.
Right.
I was supporting him because he had supported me forever over the years. And when he did away with that, I got away with it. So I do not read the paper at all. And we haven't had a subscription in I don't know how many years because of that. So it's sort of weird because I'm at the age group, and you're probably not that far behind me. You're probably on my bumper there somewhere. And, you know, where we grew up reading the paper. And we grew up reading print with magazines. Magazines are still hanging in there, but we're in a weird transitional zone between the print is dying, the digital is starting to come in, but the digital hasn't 100% taken over. So we're, again, a twilight zone.
Well, the magazine, I think, is a more beautiful vehicle.
Well, of course, you got beautiful pictures.
Yeah,
that's still holding up.
Not the paper where it's down and dirty and
And I'll give you one up on how I think the newspapers are pretty much dead. Is our seminar series. We've been doing that now coming up for 34 years in 2021. So some of the sites that we go to, we used to set aside a marketing budget to advertise in local newspapers. But way back in the day, the newspapers were it. Steve Waters hit you with a column and you'd sell out.
Right.
Now, you put big full-page ads when Saltwater Sportsman would commit the money to that on a particular seminar. Nobody reads it. It's a dead thing.
So now these newspapers need to profit. And they lost a lot of revenue because those papers are out of print. And they need clicks because that's the new way to make money. And it's statistically proven that fake news gets 6 times as many clicks
Which
as
is
real
terrible.
news does.
It's on the same line
And
of watching.
if you look at that right there, you'll find out why we are where we are.
Right. It's like watching the Saturday morning wrestling that we used to do as a kid with Gordon Soley, the announcer, and all the fake wrestling and this and that. That's sort of where you are right now.
Sensationalism sells. I mean, it's yeah.
People got to purge their minds. Go
If it
fishing.
bleeds, it leads. I mean, you turn away from a train wreck, whatever cliche you want to say.
Yep.
I mean, it's the truth, though.
Yep.
You know, it's
Crazy.
When you can't look away from it, and that's what profits. You know.
Yep.
So, all right, we beat politics to death there.
And he still didn't get it out of me.
Yeah, no, I still didn't get it out of you. I'm not trying though. I'm not trying too hard, you know. So I'm not trying too hard. So anyway, we got a mullet run coming up, right, John?
It's not coming up. It's here.
It's here.
Yeah,
right?
I thought
Yeah.
that
It's
became
here.
like, wow, it is here.
Yeah. And it's going pretty strong too.
Yeah.
I was kind of worried there for a little while. I hadn't seen anything that far south. Everything was kind of happening up north, but last week it really blew up down here, and
Yeah.
it's been steady for a week straight.
Yeah,
So
John.
hopefully they keep coming. It's my favorite time of year. Rob will, your guy, he's been
Yeah.
wanting to come with me for a while, but I promise, Rob, it'll happen soon.
I call John the Snook Master. He shakes his head every time, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is for sure. So
That's good.
I keep trying to convince him to take me fishing. He's only taken me once when the wind was really blowing hard in our faces, and there's a lot of weed on the shoreline, and wasn't going to be good fishing anyway. That was the one time he takes me. So anyway, yeah. So,
Weatherman lied that day.
Yeah, weatherman.
Oh, when don't they lie?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the mullet run. Do you get too much involved with the mullet
I
run?
do not. I fished it, several times, obviously, but it's not something. It seems like when that goes off, we are either scheduled doing some offshore shows at different locations, so we never really took advantage of actually doing a show around the mullet run. We fished it for saltwater sportsmen before, but it's a cool deal. There's no doubt about it. But it's great. But I'm an offshore guy at heart.
Yeah.
I'd rather be out there chasing those offshore pelagics.
Yeah. If I see John hold up another snook with a light on his head without me, I'm gonna have to find another production guy in the room.
We'll go again soon.
Yeah. Promises.
Promise.
Right? Next thing I'm gonna see.
Oh, you'll see it. And notice how they get it closer to the camera, so it looks a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, you look at
No
their
snook
hands.
I can't hold out. I got to support them on my legs, so
But your
there's no
hands
long
look-
arms.
Your hands look like
See?
Frankenstein's hands because you have them
Snookosaurus
so
over
close.
here.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So anyway, what we were talking about before, you got your seminar
Yes.
segment in, right?
We did
Just
this
before
year,
coronavirus, right?
absolutely.
And that must have been, wow, we got that in right in time.
And what was scary about it is when we look back, we ended the seminar. It was the first, either it was the last Saturday in February we ended it, or maybe the first Saturday in March of 2020. And what was really frightening is our last show was Port St. Lucie, but before that we were in Connecticut, Bridgeport, Connecticut, and we flew out of the same airport where that virus started.
Oh, really?
The same freaking one. We got out
Wow.
that night out of the Connecticut.
Ugh.
We had driven into that New York airport to do that.
Yeah.
And so, and what was weird between the seminar before Connecticut, and Port St. Lucie, a lot of our faculty, including me, early on, I came down with like a funky kind of a cold. Alan Wenzel came down with like a flu. Jim Hanrahan, who works our front, came down with a flu. And
Right around that time?
yeah, so we all
Oh my
thought
God,
that
you
we
guys
had
must
it,
have been flipping out.
but we had gone to the doctors, and not me too. I said, maybe we had this thing, and maybe we got the antibody. So I had the antibody test done on me. I didn't have it, as the other guys didn't have it either,
Right.
which is weird. But we all came down with some kind of a funk before that. But yeah, we finished it. It was a hell of a year, and then everything hit. So now 2021 is going to be weird, and we had this talk before. I had 6 weeks worth of conversations with saltwater sportsmen, meetings and everything, deciding the fate of the 2021 tour. Do we go virtual? And my initial thing was let's take the year off. Let's just take that year off. Let all the stuff clear out. We'll come back. And then a couple of sponsors, one of them being the Florida Keys, Andy Newman, said, you can't do that. What year are you going to be in 2021? Go year 34. You got to do a virtual. You got to do something to keep
Gotta
the
do something,
continuity.
yeah.
34 years, you can't take that year off. Then Saltwater said the same thing. We can't keep that year off. You've got to keep it going. So all the debates. And it finally came to the conclusion that 2021 will be the road tour. social distancing guidelines and seating, if still in effect. And rather than starting in January and ending in the first Saturday in March, we're going to start late this year. We're going to start the end of February and then run it into like the first or second weekend in April, hoping, that cushion between January and February, either something's going to get a little better or something's going to get a lot worse. If it gets a lot worse, naturally we'll cancel the
Either
tour.
I'm on board with that. That's a pretty tight decision right there.
And if we have to go under social distancing guidelines, we will do that, which ironically, a lot of the halls that we book, we're keeping in touch with them in the States, they're all, one allows you 100, one allows you 150 people, the Keys allow you 103. Now, these are halls we're doing 400 or 500 people.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have to do it to keep it consistent, we'll go with social distancing seating.
Yeah.
And the kicker at this point, which is always our biggest show, which you're a hometown kid from, is Jersey, is Atlantic City is always our biggest show. We're a 600 some odd person deal. Right now, at resorts, the state allows no more than 25 people at a seminar. Mm-hmm. So we're looking, here's a 600 venue. What we normally get, we're going to do 25 people. We talked about if they would let us, if they opened up to say 250 people, we would do 2 shows, a Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
But see, all this is in now, so come then, we'll have a better understanding where we're at. But at worst, if the virus comes in strong, we cancel it for the year. And if it's where it is right now, we do it social distancing. We go out there and we do our 100, 150 seats, and then get that show in and get refocused on next year.
Yeah, a lot of people are worried about that second wave. And even though we're in phase 3, you still got to be careful because no one wants that thing to spike up again, like it did in July. When we
was right.
And, when everyone was like, "Wait a minute, numbers are going way up here. What's going on?" Everyone, and then you had to back it down a little bit. No one wants that to happen. But I think also in the very beginning of this thing, you didn't really know, where it was all heading. Right. So everyone was kind of like super locked down. Like we didn't know. And as things lightened up, people got a little bit more relaxed, and then the spike went up. They're like, okay,
right,
we see what can happen with those kind of behaviors.
You just got to try to be smart.
You just got to be smart, and I think it's kind of my point right there. I think at this point, everyone has a better idea on how to handle it and how to respond to it. Hopefully, you know what I mean. As long as people stick to that mindset,
yes,
and just say, okay, let's just all be not doing things stupid here.
I agree.
And even like on the show, I'm trying to bring on, people that I know, and know where they've been or
it's like our production team. Where have you been the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, so I mean, you just try to play it smart. That's really. And I hope like going forward, people do just play it smart because no one wants this thing around.
No.
And whatever theory you have on it, you know what I mean. It's just that it's a theory. Right. You may be right, you may be wrong. Yep. But let's not take any chances because we're talking about something that if you do get it, it's been proven that it could have pretty severe consequences. So.
Yeah, it's like a roll of the dice. You don't know what you have in your chemical makeup that might make you.
That's the thing.
The next person to check out.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. Whereas, like, perfect scenario, I have a friend of mine, very good, one of my best friends, that got the flu for 2 days. No big deal. But his uncle, they got it on the same vacation. Oh. He was he was diabetic, and he's been in the hospital.
So what happened to him?
He's comes home today.
Okay, good.
Since July.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So he's been, and he has to relearn how to walk. He's been in bed so long. He's got the atrophy, like all that stuff. Like, and so listen, different strokes for different folks on this one. So better safe than sorry.
My cousin and my uncle came down with it. Now my cousin, I fish with him fairly often. Big fitness freak, always has been. And so he and his dad is 80, had come down with it. And they quarantined for 2 weeks. They had, I guess, a mild case. It kept them down for 2 weeks. They were feeling super lethargic the whole bit. Now, having come out of that, they're feeling some like muscle pains in their heels and so something is still weird there. But my cousin's girlfriend, who he lives with, who's also a fitness freak, got it the same time, obviously. Mm-hmm. Very bad. He had to rush her to the hospital on 2 different occasions.
Wow.
And something about it was started affecting her brain. And he would bring her home and put her out to try to get sunlight and take care of her. He said one time she became so lethargic, he went out there and she was non-responsive that he thought she died. He picked her up, took her to the hospital. So she's coming out of it now, but still battling the weirdness. And here are, again, my cousin and his girlfriend, total health nuts. They run, they lift weights. That's all they do. They eat right.
Yeah.
And I never know my cousin to be sick in her entire life, but yet he gets it through it okay, and his girlfriend just gets slammed with it. So it's like I said, it's like a gamble. You don't know what.
Is she okay now?
Still fighting a little bit. She's okay. Home the whole
She's
bit.
past the hump.
Yeah, but still having residuals out of it all.
Yeah. Scary stuff. So everyone, please be safe.
Absolutely.
And just do the right thing. Really, just don't take any chances.
Nope.
Even though we're in phase 3, which
Go
I
fishing.
agree with, which I agree with the phase 3 thing. Yeah, I really do. But there's got to be some personal responsibility tied.
Go
to that.
fishing.
So go fishing.
Absolutely
exactly.
right.
Buy a boat.
Exactly. Buy a boat.
Buy
keep,
pen fishing
keep
reels
Dennis in
and drink.
business. Keep me in business so we can do more of these interviews.
Right. Buy plenty of
And triple questions.
Pilar rum and pen fishing reels and ACR safety equipment.
There you go. He's got it down.
Right,
It's pretty
see?
good.
I'm trying. I've been told by people associated with your brands that George is the best. George is the best ambassador we could have. He is the best steward of our brand. That is for sure, and I can absolutely 100% see that.
I appreciate that, and it goes back to one of the original ideas why I started the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw TV shows back in the day. Most of them, hey Tommy, that's a beautiful bass, or here you go, Glenn, and it was like mind rot.
Mm-hmm.
And why we started the show was more of an educational value, show people what we're doing and techniques, make it entertaining as well. But so we played that off. So segueing around to where you said with the sponsors is so many of these people, they're fishermen like NASCARs. Well, I want to thank my so-and-so line company, and it wouldn't have been possible at my so-and-so boat. But if that so-and-so motor didn't get me to where I needed to go, I would have never caught that fish. So what I've always done in terms, you have to have sponsors. You have to promote sponsors, but you do it in what I like to say, a educational, classy way where you show it being used and what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So the people see this stuff. They understand what we're doing. And you can make a little mention of it here and there, but they'll watch that almost every single episode of what you're doing. So you're promoting and showcasing how this product is being used. It's not like a NASCAR just coming out blatant type of an ad.
Right.
And that's been the philosophy that I've always adhered to. And, and always the other thing is always staying true to your sponsors. And I've had conversations, and I won't mention another person because it's our show where we don't mention a lot of people here today because we certainly bashed a lot of them. There's another individual
Titus.
I'm close with, and he's really big. He's putting a lot of effort on the Instagram things. He's a younger guy, and I knew his dad, and so he's asked me a lot of questions, this and that. And he asked me to help him out before. He said, look, I need to go with a certain motor company. Could you work something out with Merck? I said, all I could do, give me a resume. I'll send it off to Merck. So what had happened in that situation is I got him in a door, and they were going to give him a special pricing or whatever based on what he could deliver. Then he went to Yamaha and pitted the two against each other. Yamaha had given him a better deal, so he went with Yamaha.
Right.
I get a call.
So he leveraged his relationships. It's not
which was
It's
right.
not a good thing.
So he came back a number of years later saying, look, I'm having issues with Yamaha and they're not treating me that well. Could you get me back with Mercury? And I said, we just did this thing. And I said, okay, I'll make a call. I made a call to Mercury. They told me flat out, we were going to work with him. Then he pitted us against the other. We don't do business like that. So we don't care. We don't want to see him again.
Yeah.
And I told him that. And I said, look, you're young. You got to realize you think you're hot. You're hot in one element. He says, what's going to gain you longevity is your honesty and your loyalty to sponsors. If you got somebody who's going to work with you and it works, you stick with them. I've had a number of people with the boats offer me 3-4 times what I get with Mako. And I've yet to switch. I'm happy with who I'm with. They don't slow me down. I can do everything, and we all work together. And I think in the long run, when you have the original sponsors going way back, that you're still with them, your stock is really high because it just shows your devotion to them because they're supporting you. You don't pit somebody against the other like so many people think. They think they're really hot. But in the sponsors world, they could have thousands of people they could pick from. So why are you going to be a clown and pit each other? That's the wrong thing. And I told this individual that.
Yeah, and I think the sponsors look at it the same way.
Sure.
If that no, we're going to be loyal to this person because it works for us.
Sure.
There's a symbiotic relationship that has to be had there.
Yes.
And you cannot, as an ambassador in this industry, do that. Because it's all about relationships at the end of the day. And I know it's very cliche to say that, but it's very true. It is all about the relationships that you build and you garner in your friendships. And they are truly friendships at the end of the day. I know people say you don't want to mix friendships and business with pleasure and all that, but you do become friends with people over time, and there's got to be something said for that. There's got to be some loyalty to that.
And it's a small industry.
It's
not
a
like
very
it's
small
huge.
industry.
Somebody who could be marketing director of one company might leave and turn out somewhere else. So if you cross them up at one area and they come back to a position where you might be seeking help in another area,
right,
you're gone.
Hey, and at times it's not going to work out in your favor.
Sure.
And you can't get bitter over that because you have to understand the business.
Exactly.
You have to understand that, you know what, maybe there's a reason, maybe there's a long-term reason, and I'm going to have to accept that and understand that was the right reason, even though it didn't work in my favor.
Correct.
I deal with situations like that all the time. Especially with the art thing, where you're trying to do this and do that and, trying to get ahead. And it's not the easiest thing in the world,
Exactly.
being an artist and trying to
I know.
Make that as an independent business.
Yep.
We worked long and hard at doing that.
And you've done well. I mean, like I've always said, your work, I'm intrigued by the realism there and how you could really get to the realism of what these fish look like. There's some people that I call abstract artists. They could come close and they look good and they got a little fuzz and that's their angle. But you come down to the reality of the fish that's really, really remarkable. And that's what made me gravitate to you. And you've done a hell of a job and continue to do a hell of a job. So, despite his 3 questions, he's still pretty talented.
I can't think of a better compliment coming from a better guy. I mean, I really appreciate you saying that, George. That's really means the world to me. Thank you very much. I have a kind of a theory that when it comes to painting fish, you got to go one of 2 directions. If you're going to go for real, then get there by any means possible and get paint as real as you possibly can, get the light correct and everything like that. But if you're not going to go real, then I suggest going completely the opposite direction and use 100% style.
Okay, true. I agree with you.
And just come up with something very unique, come up with something very original, something like on your own. But if you're going to go for real and you don't get there, then that's all that needs to be said about that.
And I'll give you one more to add to that is don't get complacent. I've seen a lot of great marine artists.
That is very true.
And all of a sudden they hit a certain plateau and, I know who I'm thinking of, a couple of them. And all of a sudden they hit that plateau, nothing changes or morphs beyond that. And they ride that plateau. But then after a while, that plateau starts going like this. So you get to that one point, you're going to be in trouble. It's like if you don't keep growing, you're going to die.
That is true, and that's the truth for any brand, any business.
Right.
It's the same thing, and it holds true for artists.
Never get complacent, no matter how well you're doing.
Yep. And if the funny thing is I'm glad we're talking about this because, one thing that we've always said from the very beginning, and one of the reasons that if you look at, not to tout myself or anything like that, but if you look at my body of work, it's diverse. There's a lot of different things in there, and that's by design. That isn't just by accident, because we don't ever want to fall into that category that you just mentioned.
Right.
Where everyone will say, oh, yeah, same old, same old, same old, same old. I try to switch it up, try to come up with different, unique things. You look at this podcast platform as one example, as is just trying to do something unique and different, trying to do something different than any artist has ever done.
Sure.
Right? Or at least in this space, right? Sometimes you got to toe the line and do the traditional things that is expected of a marine life artist. And we do that. But there's I call them standards. Just like a jazz musician might have standards that they do, right? But then they can come up with your derivative or your explorative things and your own projects. Whereas like a musician might have a side project or a side band. You always got to keep pushing. You always got to keep evolving and doing different things. Not just for the sake of your audience, but for your own self.
Sure, you got to grow.
Yeah, and when you do those different things and when you branch off and you do, start experimenting, it matters to your standard body work as well. Because it helps improve that when you come back to it. It makes you a better artist. And that's really why you should do it.
Absolutely.
Because doing that helps your standard work. You know, like let's say like I don't know, for example, like you know, name any band, you know, where like you have like a lead singer. You're like, oh, the lead singer did that side project. That album was horrible. So
He did.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe he just did it for that reason, just to, you know, I call it the mental trash can, right? Where you got all these ideas in your head, and you just got to do them, whether they're good or not. They're there, and by doing those projects, at least you could just throw them away, and do them. There's no better way, I think, in my mind, to explain that.
You hit it dead on.
You know, but
sure.
we do a lot of mental trash can projects around here. Some of
see,
them work, and some of them stick, and some of them don't.
And you're gifted enough where you could go off in a number of different directions and really succeed. And you're keeping those options open by expanding those boundaries. So you're doing it 100% right.
Trying.
Oh, you're more than trying. You're hitting it.
No, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, but you know, again, you know, I'm going to paraphrase my own quote on this. You know, when people say sometimes, "Oh, you've created a masterpiece," right? And I don't want to try to float my boat by saying any of that, but it does get said. Okay, people say, "Oh, you created the masterpiece, created a masterpiece." I hate that term, because to me, if you're saying that you've mastered something, then you don't really need to do it anymore.
I disagree.
It's from an art perspective, because to me it's a journey, it's a search.
Sure.
Right. From artistically speaking, it's a journey and search. And once you've gotten to that point, when you say you've truly mastered it, then I don't feel like I need to paint anymore, because I always feel like at the end of every painting, I want to feel like there's something different I could have done. There's some other distance I could have gone, or some, because to me that's what keeps my creativity evolving. And once that dies, you know what I mean? That's why I don't ever want to be laxed in the term masterpiece or master.
Well, I would take that as such. When somebody tells you created a masterpiece, which you have done on several occasions that I've seen, is you need to equate that to a rock band with the greatest hits album. You can't have a greatest hits album with one masterpiece. Look at the bands when they take the greatest hits. So you got a number of masterpieces in you that, when all said and done, you could have several different bookloads of your greatest hits or masterpieces. So once you hit a masterpiece, that's just one. There's several different masterpieces that you could go on and create. So never think that once you hit the masterpiece that's your limiting factor. It's not. That's one greatest hits. Move on to the next one.
That makes me feel better.
Oh, that's what I'm here for, Dennis.
I just don't.
I'm your psychologist too.
I just don't want to feel like, yeah, right.
I'm working overtime. If that's the case, I'm going to send you a bill.
Tell me more. Tell me more, George.
Have a bottle of Papa's Pilar rum. Call me in the morning. Your problem's going to be solved.
Swigging that rum. I'm going to start laying back and start swigging the rum.
But seriously, when you hit one major level, you go on. You hit one major milestone. Build them up.
Yeah.
Don't stop there.
I guess I just don't ever want to get laxed.
That's
what I mean?
That was the point I made. I've seen so many of my good friend artists that they made all the money.
People talking in their ears, telling them they're the greatest thing.
They made all their money and they get lazy, and then that's the end of it.
Yeah.
They're doing reruns, what I like to call reruns. It's the same old look.
Yeah.
And I'm not picking out anybody in particular. I'm picking on a few.
Right. No, I hear you. I got you. I know. See, you can't talk politics. I can't talk
you
that.
You could.
Yeah.
I can't say that. Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, I guess, you know, I don't, like, people always say, like, you know, oh, you know, you have a retirement plan. And I'm like, I mean, no, I'm an artist. I mean, being an artist isn't something what you do. It's what you are.
That's what I do,
you know?
too.
Yeah, and it's the same thing as, I always equate angling and you know, being a fisherman to being an artist, because I think they have a lot of parallels. I know I beat this to death on the show. John's probably going to roll his eyes. You're talking about this again?
No, we're not looking at him, so who cares?
So, I mean, but I always think there are a lot of parallels to, you know, the work and the ethic and just the striving and, like, what are you actually trying to accomplish here? You know what I mean? What is the real goal there?
Yep,
you know what I mean? And, like, what is the true journey to all this? And there is a path of creativity to both sides of it. There's a work ethic path, like, to both sides of it, that are very similar.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know, a lot of people think that being an artist, like, there's this floozy kind of, like, in your head attitude, and there's a certain truth to that. but all that is necessary and by design because it's a free flowing format. But there is also a very structured discipline to it that needs to be adhered to. There are rules to design. There are rules to art that need to be understood and followed before you can learn how to break them. Where there's consistency and repetition and variation and form and weight and mass and like all these different theories that go with art that you need to understand what they truly are and to create a perfect composition, whether that be in a painting or a sculpture or just even the song, because all the theories relate artistically, and I think fishing is very similar.
It is
to that because all those theories equate.
And
I can't say that about every sport.
If you're a diehard hardcore angler, yes, because they understand the wiring is the same.
Right. It is. It truly is. And I can understand the frustration where sometimes people can say, oh, you're bringing this person on and your boat and they don't understand this and they don't understand that. Why are you getting upset? You're still out on the water. You're still having a great day. And it's like, well, there's more to it than that.
Yep, sure.
There really is. And,
it is.
There's a certain, aspect to that, we used to have a term when I worked at BC Surf and Sport. It's called OAKSTF. Only a surfer knows the feeling, right? And the same thing. Only a fisherman knows the feeling. Only an artist knows the feeling.
That's
and
true.
You got to really kind of walk that walk before you can really understand what people are talking about.
I agree with you.
So, thank you very much for coming in today, George Poveromo.
You got scared. I thought he was going to ask me 3 more questions.
No, that's it. I want to thank you for coming in.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And like I said,
really.
Anytime I'm down the street, it's as enjoyable.
Yeah,
break in the day, it's all fun.
Well, you're a show regular now.
I am.
Now this is number 2. We're gonna have you on.
And that's a
monthly.
frightening thing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. No, and I thank you for my instructions. I want you to sign this.
We got a pen.
Right?
I'll knock that out right now.
Yeah, I want you to sign that before we. Oh, here we go. All right, witness.
Okay, my witness.
Right, and this
right
is going to stay on the on the show forever. So, and I do have an empty bottle in the other room that we're probably going to permanently adhere that to.
And
That's
there you
beautiful.
have it.
Oh, look at that. See?
I even spelled my last name correctly in that one there.
Wonderful. So, all right. Is there anything you want to mention before we get off the
No,
show?
other than I appreciate you having me back. And like I said, you're believe it or not, a great diversion to a work day.
Yeah.
A good excuse to get out of the office for a little bit, come over here and hang out and just talk fishing. And when is talking fishing a bad thing? It's always enjoyable.
Right, and cockroaches in Titusville.
That's great. Look at the stories we came out with today.
Man, I love that story.
And there's so much more. But you caught me by surprise. So these are the first things that were popping in my mind. There's so many more craziness out there.
Well, then I can't wait to hear more of them on the next episode. So because certainly, if you're offering, I'm going to take you up on
there. I'm down the street. Like
I'll
I said.
have you on the show every week. So, all right. Well, listen. George Poveromo, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis.
Check out his show on Discovery Channel now.
Yes.
And they're currently filming season 21.
For 2021, yes, which is going to be, believe it or not, our 21st year in television, which is all unto itself leaves me scratching my head. And then the seminar series, this January or February, we're going to start them in February. This will be year 34. So it's
wow.
They like I said, they say time flies when you're having fun, but I must have had one hell of a time because this thing evaporated the time.
Yeah, wow, that's great.
But it's it's all good, and they could go on my social sites, Facebook.com/George.Poveromo. I'm on Instagram at George Poveromo. All you need to do is spell the last name right. We'll get you in there, and all those good things. So just happy to be here again.
That's awesome. And a shout out to all the sponsors that we mentioned today, but in particular, Papa's Pilar Rum. They did a fantastic job today once again. They always do.
They loosened us up to talk about some stories we probably would never ever told.
Yeah, absolutely. You got their hand sanitizer.
Right here.
And I promised my buddy Justin Broderick we would do a special shout out for ACR today. So
he's a good guy.
That's a fantastic product, and they're saving a lot of lives with that product.
No doubt about it, and they are. And I don't understand to this day why every boat sold that is not a piece of standard equipment from the factory. And
right. I agree.
It just, and we don't even have to rehash it, but all the tragedies that have occurred where if they had an ACR in EPIRB, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Right.
It's just, it's just simple simple common sense.
Yep. Yep. And they got their flares and the whole 9 yards. Is the whole
They
catalog.
got that
of
new
safety
rescue flare
equipment.
deal now,
Yep.
which, it takes the place of those handheld flares. And I just got one. I tested it out the other about a week or two ago off a marathon. Big bright light, battery powered, very easy, and no more expired flares. I mean, how many times have you gone to your boat? Let me check my flares, and you think you're up to date, and they're like a year old. It's like, and then trying to replace those things
time
are
flies.
expensive.
Yep. Time flies.
I don't have a flare sponsor. I had to come out of my pocket for those,
Right.
They're expensive.
Yeah. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So awesome. Awesome. All right. Listen, if you're in the market for a vehicle,
Yes.
we highly suggest you head over to Joey Accardi Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, which is the presenting sponsor of this show. If you do want to talk to them about a similar truck that I have, like the Ram Rebel, which I am completely in love with,
Or the new TRX.
or the new TRX.
Those things are sweet.
Well, how about if
That's
if I
right.
give you a plug on this one from a Ford guy? I gotta my hats off to Dodge. They've come an incredible way with these new 2500 and 3500 Dodge trucks.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yep.
And I have a 3500 Ford. I pull my boat, and I saw these Dodges come out, the 2500, 3500. Boy, they did their homework on these things. They look magnificent, and I think they're going to take a big bite out of the market. I was glad to see them step up in that 3500.
Yeah.
So, and they're not a sponsor, as you well know, but I've got to tell you, I'm very impressed with those trucks, and so.
No, we appreciate you saying
on
that. Yeah, we appreciate you saying that. The Rebel that I have is obviously a little bit more sportier. That's kind of like driving like a 4x4 Mustang around town.
Well, you're an artist. You need sporty.
Right, exactly. But you're right. You hit the nail on the head with those
they
new
did their
trucks.
homework.
Yeah, and John's right for bringing up the TRX because that thing is just incredible and sick looking.
Yep.
It is.
So call my buddy Dean if you're interested in any of these vehicles, which you should be. Also, if you're hungry, which I know you are, right? Go see our buddies at Papa's Raw Bar out there in Pompano. Troy and Cassie got their operation dialed in.
Now, where are they? I've heard about this place.
They are between 10th and Sample off Federal.
10th and so they go to
Right.
Federal.
You know, Seafood
10th.
World is like
Yeah,
that whole.
sure.
That's
It's
right where they're at.
Oh, I know exactly where it is. I know
Yeah.
the place.
Mm-hmm.
They're not tied into SeaWorld, are they?
Yes, Well, the Seafood World. Yeah, it's
The
kind of
Seafood
now. They're changing that to what's that? Papa's
The
Seafood World.
the marketplace.
Yeah.
I can't remember the.
So they're
exact name.
rebranding that right now currently. But another thing that they just developed was the barrel room,
Okay.
which is a rum barrel room,
Huh.
which is very cool. And Bo Jackson just stopped by there the other day, and they just posted up pictures about that. So
I'm gonna check it out. 'Cause
yeah, you should check it out.
I'm a raw oyster freak. I love raw
yeah,
oysters.
yeah. No,
so-
they do it right there.
Good.
They have some
It is
good
really-
Pilar drinks that they
Great
that
Pilar
they
drinks
mix up
there,
too.
yeah.
raw oysters
they
and
absolutely do.
Pilars. So if there's anything wrong with the oyster, Pilar will take care of that.
Yep, that's for sure. And yeah, they got and it's also the Connected by Water sushi menu there.
Really?
Yep.
You got your own sushi menu?
We got our own sushi menu on there.
Now I'm gonna have to check it
Yeah,
out.
we got to check it out. So we got plenty of rolls
Wow.
from our CBW fleet on there. The OCD roll, the Takizi roll, the Jumbolicious roll. So all those are all friends
you
of the
notice he's
studio.
telling about all these rolls that he has named after him at this place. And we come here today. You don't even have ice to put with the rum, okay?
Got to start bringing in some of
Hey,
these
but that's
rolls.
okay. That's okay.
I definitely need to become more of a responsible citizen.
No, that's okay. I'm not a high maintenance guy. I just love to
No, that's
poke
right.
fun at you when I
That's
can.
all right. And also connectedbywater.com, right? I always forget to
Yeah,
do this. I always forget
absolutely.
to mention our own website. So if you're in the market for any sort of custom artwork, custom apparel, that's our bread and butter, boat wraps, large format graphics, that's really kind of what put us on the map. We do have a growing brand, our Connected by Water brand, so check that out online. We appreciate getting your feedback on that one. And also, I think that's it. I think we're ready to close her out. So we'll, in normal fashion, we'll say no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we're always connected by water. George Poveromo. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me back. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Thanks for doing a good job with the cameras and
Oh,
everything
John
else.
always does a
No
great job.
worries. Thank you.
Amazing.